I would like all of my leaders to please stand up so that we can give them a round of applause. Now, I want you to know, when you do the HeartLink Network, this is not a paid job. This is a volunteer job. Women who love women and who are willing to put in enormous effort to make this opportunity possible for women in their community. And so it is so extraordinary when I look at these women, and they have such busy lives, and they have amazing companies that they represent and that they love, and businesses, and yet they make time to love women around them. And that, I mean, it doesn't get better than that. We're going to talk about the heart of success today, because I have so many people ask me, you know, you're the heart girl. And as you can see, I have hearts hanging off, you know, everywhere. And so what is the heart of success? So we're going to talk a little bit about that today. And the first, I thought it would be how perfect. We'll just use the word heart. And we'll go down and use that acronym. So H, we'll start with H. And H, I want everybody to remember to hang on to hope. When I was a little girl, we were very, very poor. You see these people on television that they're talking about in poverty? That was my family. We had no indoor plumbing. We lived in 2 rooms. We had a spigot like you have outside that came into our house. We took our baths in number 3 wash tubs, and we went outside to go to the restroom. I didn't know what it was like to have an actual bathroom in your house until I went to school. And I was fascinated by this. I mean, I just thought that was the coolest thing in the entire world. I mean, for me, it was like the invention of all times. And so because we didn't have any money, I got 1 pair of shoes a year. Now, I don't know if any of you can relate to this, but they used to make these little tennis shoes that they sold at the 5 and 10 dime stores. I know that most of you are very young. You're not my age. So there used to be these little, and they were barely put together, you know, and they were canvas and kind of glued together. And that was my shoes. I got them at the beginning of school. They had to last the entire year of school. Now, they could fall off your feet at that point because we went barefoot all summer. So that was fine. You know, they only had to last through school. I'm in 1st grade, and I have figured out that I'm not normal. You know, every other kid has something to wear for every day. But I have 2 outfits, and we rotate them. And the kids are kind of okay. They're not making horrible fun of me. And my teacher's very, very nice. So I'm not too traumatized. And we get to the end of school, and they've been building a gym at my school. I've never been in a new building. I mean, in my life, I've never seen any new construction of any kind. This, to me, was the Taj Mahal. And on the last day of 1st grade, we were going to get to go inside, take a look at it so that we knew coming back to school, this place that we were going to have to play and do our sports and all of that sort of thing. So they lined us up in a line, and they asked us to slip off our shoes, so that when we walked into the new building, you know, we didn't have our dirty shoes on. And as we walked in, the shoes, the little tennis shoes that I had been wearing for the entire year, were literally rotting on my feet. And there was ammonia, and I didn't even know what ammonia was. But when I walked in, there was this tile floor. It was so beautiful. You can see your reflection. It was waxed so pretty and bright that it looked like a dark mirror. And I was mesmerized. And as I walked in and I took my steps very carefully, every step that I took, the ammonia on my feet took up the wax. And all of the kids started screaming, "Ooh, get away from her, she's got cooties. Oh my gosh, get away from her, she's the girl with the rotten feet." And I remember, have you ever had a moment in your life where you wanted to be invisible? And I thought, I just want to get home. So I started running, left my shoes, what was little shoe left them, and ran all the way home. And when I got home, my mother had told me that kids were really sweet. And so if kids died, because for some reason I was a rather morbid child, and I wanted to know what happened to kids when they died. And she said, if kids die, they go automatically to heaven. And they're so sweet and precious, they automatically go to heaven. So I told God, any time between 1st and 2nd grade, it's okay with me. As long as I don't have to go back to 2nd grade and look at those kids in the face, right? Well, 2nd grade came, and guess what? I was still alive. And my mother spanked me, made me go to school, because I did not want to go to school. And when I got to school, I was one of those kids that had decided I wanted to be invisible. So I walked into second grade. I put my head down so no one would notice me. I went to the back of the room. Many of you have met children like this. I sat down on the very back desk, and I swore that I wouldn't make a sound, I wouldn't draw attention to myself, and nobody would notice me. But there, on my desk, was this flyer, and it was talking about brownies. Well, I knew my cousin had a friend who got to be a brownie. Do you know the coolest thing about brownies? They wear uniforms. If I had a uniform, nobody would know I didn't have any clothes. I mean, is this the most ingenious plan you have ever heard in your life? So I folded this up and I stuck it in my blouse and I watched the clock tick, tick, tick. I didn't pay any attention that day in school. I just wanted the bell to ring so that I could run home. I ran all the way home. I busted through my door and I grabbed that flyer and I handed it to my mom. And she slowly opened it up. And she took a couple of steps back and she started to cry. She said, "Dawn, darling, we don't have money for food, let alone a brownie uniform and dues. I don't know how that could be possible." Well, at that moment, my dad walked in. Now, my father was a very tortured soul. You've probably known some of them too. And he self-medicated with this thing called alcohol, which made him not a very happy person. And he came in and saw my mother crying. And so he said, "Why is your mother crying?" And I said, "Because, Daddy, I want to be a brownie. And if I could be a brownie and I could have a uniform, I could be like everybody else and I could help people across the street and I could make a difference. I could do something that was important. I want to be a brownie." And he said to me, "You need to understand life. You are poor, white trash. And you're not ever going to be anything but that. And life is something that you have to get through until you die. And it's only when you give up those dreams and aspirations and all of those big ideas that you have in your head that life will stop hurting you because it can't take anything away from you anymore." And he turned around and walked out of the room. Well, my mother was a closet optimist. And by closet, I mean closet. We only had 2 rooms. So when we put the kids in the bunk beds to bed at night, she would literally take me in the closet with a flashlight, and we read this little book that had lots of positive poetry and had all kinds of, you can do it if you just think you can. And, you know, she was just such a closet optimist. And she grabbed my arm when my dad walked out of the room. She said, "Dawn, I didn't name you Dawn for nothing. You're the beginning of something. You're the beginning of something. You're the beginning. You're going to be the first girl to ever get an education in this family. You're going to be the first girl to really make a difference." And she goes, "There are miracles. We read about them in the Bible. And if they can happen to those people, why can't they happen to us? Especially you, because you're a good girl." She said, "You know, hope is the poor man's bread. We don't have much, but you can eat up on that all you want." Well, I was not that bright at 7, but I was clearly bright enough to go, okay, Dad's idea or Mom's idea? Which sounds like more fun, right? So I thought my mom's idea sounded like a whole lot more fun. Well, the next day I went to school. My second grade teacher gave us an assignment. And she said we were going to write about our favorite color. Now, all the kids around me, their favorite color was green and purple and pink and red. My favorite color was brown. And I said the dirt was brown, and you know, we grow vegetables in the dirt to eat, and the fruit trees grow in the dirt, and the branches are brown, and you know, you could tell I was hungry because I was talking all about food. And I said that brown was the color of the most beautiful uniform of the most wonderful organization in the whole world. It was called Brownies, but I wasn't going to get to be one because we didn't have any money. Well, about 2 weeks later, my second grade teacher came to me. She said, "Dawn, I want you to stay after school for a little while." And I knew I hadn't done anything wrong. So I stayed after school. She took me in her office, and there on her desk was a box. She said, "Open it up." And it was just a cardboard box that we shipped things in, you know. So I went over and I opened it up, and I couldn't believe my eyes. Inside that box was a brownie uniform. Now, she kept apologizing that it wasn't new. Her sister had a little girl 1 year older than me, and it was her old brownie uniform, but I didn't care. It was a brownie uniform. She asked me if I wanted to try it on, and I was really embarrassed because my slip was held together with safety pins. I'd suffer any embarrassment if that brownie uniform just fit. So I put that brownie uniform on, and you know how when something's been worn, it's soft? And it just was soft and warm and wonderful. But then I looked in the bottom of that box, and there it was, a beanie. And I reached down and I put it on my head, and I knew at that moment I wasn't poor white trash. I was something special. I was a brownie. My second grade teacher said she would pay my dues for the year. But she said I owed her something. I said anything. And she whispered in my ear, greatness is never an accident.